question. Hi Kim, I have a somewhat strange question. I have to say there are no strange questions. There are some very strange people asking questions, but there are no strange questions. Okay, are the civilians that are killed during genocide truly innocent, or are they responsible because they co-created the event? Okay, I won't say it's a strange question, but I will say it's a very sensitive question. That if you weren't quite as strange as me, you would be tempted to not even comment on it, because no matter what you say, some people will be very, very insulted by it. And there are two aspects of this. I have talked about in some other videos where I talk about karma, for example, where in India they would take a very fatalistic view and they would say, the Jews at Auschwitz, it was just their karma. They must have done something really bad in a past life, or this couldn't have happened to them. But as I also explained about karma, if everything that is happening now is a result of what someone did in the past, how would you ever improve life on Earth? How would you ever get anywhere? How would society ever change if you're just repeating patterns? So, in other words, there is karma. There are certain events that are a result of people's karma from past lives, and there are certain events that are a result of people making new decisions and creating what we might call new karma. So, I know this doesn't really answer the question, but bear with me. So what I'm trying to say is that you have to look at this individually. And this is something you can't do with the outer mind. So you can't look at a specific group of people and say, was this something they co-created, or were they just innocent victims? Now you can say, in a certain way, you can say, on a planet as dense as Earth, that I have talked about, it's an unnatural planet, you could ask yourself, are there people who are truly innocent? And there were at some point, but are there people anymore, because we have all created psychology as a result of past trauma and going into separation and duality. So what I've explained is that we have the two options in life. We can see ourselves as connected beings, and when we see ourselves as connected beings, we would never commit genocide. Connection means you do unto others what you want others to do to you. The other option is you see ourselves as separate beings, and that means you think you can do unto others, but it won't hurt yourself. You can harm others without harming yourself. That's the illusion you have when you're a separate being. And so since the vast majority of people have gone into duality, you can say that the vast majority of people on Earth have lost that innocence, and therefore, in a sense, we're all mixed in. We're all rolling around in the mud. And therefore, in a certain sense, we are all somewhat responsible for the state of the planet. And we're all somewhat part of the collective consciousness. And at the current level, the collective consciousness is so low that these atrocities are possible. And you can say we all have a certain responsibility for that. But of course, there are levels of this. There are many people, groups of people who have embodied the golden rule and who may see themselves as connected to something outside themselves. Therefore, they wouldn't commit genocide, for example. But then there are others who maybe at a surface level they think, oh, we would never commit genocide. But on the other hand, they're still very much trapped in duality, and therefore maybe they wouldn't do it, but they would approve of it. They actually think, and you can see groups of people that think the Earth would be better if this group of people weren't there. You can see so many people that have that. I'm not saying this means they would round them up in concentration camps and put them in gas chambers, but they still have this attitude that these other people are the problem. They are the scapegoat. And the only way to solve the problem is to get rid of the scapegoat one way or the other, or to at least force the scapegoat. And this is the consciousness where you're willing to do unto others what you don't want others to do to yourself, where you even think it's for the greater good to do unto others. This is the consciousness that makes genocide possible. And so, therefore, you could ask yourself, is a certain group of people in that state of consciousness? And therefore, when they were exposed to genocide, it was really not necessarily that they had done the same to others in the past, but at least that they have been projecting out for a long time this idea that other people are the problem, and the way to solve the problem is to get rid of these people. So, it's again this, I've talked about the material universe is like the cosmic mirror. And we have the three higher levels of the mind, the identity level, the mental level, the emotional level. And through those minds, we are projecting certain images. And the cosmic mirror can only reflect back as physical circumstances what we are projecting out. So there can be groups of people who have this. We are a special group of people. Other people don't like us because we are special. Maybe we are God's chosen people. Other people are jealous of us, they don't like us. So therefore, they are seeking to do bad things to us. And at a surface level, these people might be thinking that we don't want other people to do this to us. But subconsciously, they are actually projecting, oh, we want other people to persecute us, because the more other people persecute us, the more it validates our sense that we are so special. You see the psychology there? They don't realize it at the surface level, but subconsciously they are projecting out, we want to be persecuted because it validates our sense of being so special. So these people are not innocent. And this is not to say that these people have necessarily done the same thing in a past life, or that they have done anything to deserve being exposed to genocide. But it's just, you have another group of people who are also trapped in this state of consciousness that there's a scapegoat. We are not responsible for the bad things that are happening to us. Other people are. And so now you have one group of people who want to be persecuted. There's another group of people who want to be the persecutors. They want, because they feel, they have this epic mindset, somebody must correct the world's problems by getting rid of the bad people. And we are those people. We are obligated by destiny to do this. So now you have one group of people who want to be persecuted, another group of people who want to be the persecutors or the purifiers, and they attract each other. They're simply attracting each other because they are both playing the role that they want other people to play. They're fulfilling each other's needs. And murder and mayhem ensues. So this is not to say, of course, that there aren't examples from history where a group of people have been completely unfairly attacked, where they didn't do anything for it. But then the karma being made is much more severe by the perpetrators of genocide, when there isn't that karmic reason for it, you might say. Whereas sometimes when you have two groups of people that are just attracting each other, the karma isn't as severe, even though atrocities are committed. So what I'm trying to say is that Earth is an unnatural planet, it's a very dense planet, and we, often as spiritual people, I remember myself when I was younger, of course, I wanted to have this clear-cut, wonderful explanation that I could always apply and say, oh yeah, this is the way it is. But in most cases, when it comes to these interactions between people, it's actually very murky. So in a sense, you could say, are the civilians that are killed during genocide truly innocent, or are they responsible because they co-created the event? You could say, well, in the vast majority of cases, the answer is yes. They are partly responsible because they helped co-create the event. There can be a few cases where it isn't the case. But still, we are all part of the collective consciousness here on Earth. And some of us are pulling up on it, and some are pulling down on it. but nevertheless, it is just such a messy planet that, and really, if you look at it, what is the game that's being played on Earth? It's always this: we are better than others. We are superior compared to others. That's always the game. And so you see that one group of people, as I said, they want to be persecuted because it makes them feel superior. Another group of people want to be the ones who are purifying the race because that makes them feel superior. Both groups are coming from this desire to feel superior, and that's why they clash. And you see so many world atrocities. Really, you can trace it back to this very psychology that one, or in many cases two groups of people, they both feel superior in their own way. And that's why they end up in this completely horrendous situation that you just stand there and you're wondering, how many times does this have to repeat itself before people have had enough of it? But it really isn't a matter, and I see myself, when I was a child, I think I was probably 10 years old when I read about the Holocaust in a book. And it was really a shock for me. I mean, it was just a deep trauma it was this sense, how could this possibly happen? How could people do this to each other? And even, how could I be on a planet where this can happen? So it was a shock to me. And so what happened was that I started focusing on the event, the outer events, thinking, oh, this shouldn't have happened. How can we prevent this from happening? But I wasn't mature enough to realize that the physical event is just an outcome, an outpicturing of the psychology behind it. And it's not a matter of trying to do something at the physical level to prevent this from happening, which is what nations have been trying to do since the Holocaust became known. It's a matter of working on the psychology. And this is only beginning to happen now, where people are becoming more aware of this. But I see that it is starting to happen. But really, we need to shift from not being so focused on the physical events to being focused on the psychology that leads to the physical events. Because, you look at the Holocaust and the psychology involved, it was all psychology. It was all psychology. There wasn't any physical processes or laws that mandated that this had to happen. It was all psychology, and that is what needs to change. And that, of course, is what is in the process of changing, because as the collective consciousness is raised, it becomes less and less likely that this can happen. But it's the psychological shift that must come before there is a physical shift.